So when did you learn about goal setting and then be able to put it into practice?
At in the early days that I was racing, I did not think so much about like setting a goal like I have to be fifth or top five or top three or win. It was more like for some reason from the very beginning I always thought that I could win. There's no reason why I could not win. But then there was something else in my brains that told me, but you could get your butt whipped too, you know. So there was always these two forces. One, I believed in myself. I can do it. There's no reason that if somebody else can do it, that I cannot do it. But then I always was also thinking, well, man, to be this guy was, he has won many races before, and so there was always two forces kind of for a long time, and and then I started winning more, and then later on, it only came later on that I was thinking about championship and points, and figured that I did not need to win every race, and that I could uh, accept to be, instead of taking too much chances, finish maybe fourth and accumulate the points and win the championships that way. But the sport, our sport, has changed also quite a bit, and um, it seems to be that since the kids starts a lot younger now than in my generation, they it it is longer, and you have to be, there's a longer period of time between when you start as a kid racing and become a professional and then win at a professional level. So I think it's good to set goals like step by step, and make goals that are going to be challenging,
Hmm.
but at the same time they have to be, you have to have a real chance to achieve them. Otherwise, they're going to depress you.
Right.
You have to achieve a certain amount of success to help you believe that you can go the next step and the next step. It's funny, like with many people that I've worked with, it's like they make progress. The guys that become champions, they make they make some progress, and they show capabilities pretty early on, but there seem to be always something that keeps them from getting that final step, and they worry about it. They research. They try to find out why. They ask a lot of questions. The ones that are becoming champions later on, and then all of a sudden things start clicking,
Hmm.
and then they win and win for, start winning regularly and win for a period of years, like
Yeah.
I think that happens. I've seen that with several careers. I think it seems to be they at first they're searching, accumulating, finding their limits. You know, usually when you come up, you go faster and faster, and you learn to deal with going faster, what it does, and the chances of crashing, but not crashing.
Hmm.
But at some point, you know that limit, and you can ride close to it without messing up. And then you seem to be have accumulated the tools and all that to do it over and over, and then they start saying, oh, he's all lucky, but really it's not luck. It's the amount of work you do to get there, and the and understanding what you're doing, and in this sport, and maybe some other sports as well, that people think, oh yeah, this guy, he's just a wild man. He goes crazy, and but really the people that win over a long period of time, they're not crazy. They just know themselves. They know their body. They know their brains. They know their capability, and they know how to get close to that. without going over it, you know.
Yep.
No, you strong points, you know, you weaker points, um, and then, you know, choose all the best of each of your qualities and push where you can and be conservative where you know you need to be. And
It's amazing how much thought goes into almost visualizing, seeing yourself doing it too,
Yeah.
while chasing your goals. Like even on the day of a race, it was
Oh, yeah.
if you see yourself up front, you believe it.
I was going to say, it's just something as simple as a start where you're behind the gate, behind, you know, with everybody on equal. But usually the person that really sees themselves first in that first turn and really believes it is, you cannot just say it.
Right.
You honestly have to believe it deep inside of you and really go through your mind and visualize how it's going to happen. And it happens, you know. And it doesn't really matter how fast your bike is to some extent, you know. The guys that are good at starting, they seem to be able to do it on any brand, you know.
Yeah, that's the truth too. The fastest bike, it doesn't. I mean,
It,
it's harder to put more.
the reaction is more important. The reaction and the technique of how you do your start is more important than the bike itself, almost, you know.
Yeah.
Ryan, have you ever set goals before the start of the season?
Yeah, every year, especially as a professional, it was. I mean, those goals were pretty steady, the same. You know, obviously adjusted from time to time again. Adjusted within the bigger goal. Obviously, on the racetrack, the goal was to win the championship. You know, those were the
main goal.
That was the main one. You know, that's what we were all after. It was my goal. It was the team's goal. That's what we're all working for. We don't put in all that effort to go out there and settle for seconds and thirds. You know, and so that was the bigger one. Then within those, it was the smaller ones. You know, the stepping stones. Whether it was okay. Here we are in October. We're getting ready for the season. All right, now by the time we go racing, there was a certain way I wanted to feel. There was a certain amount of laps I wanted to do to know that I was in my best race shape. And those goals, obviously putting in all that physical work, but then even the season opener, okay. And I try to break it down. There were 17 races, and I try to take each one of those races as, you know, one goal. And each goal was to win the race that night, and taking each one as itself, and not getting too far ahead of myself.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the biggest. And then, so I never, you know, knowing what the bigger goal was, and obviously the championship, but then putting that in the back of my mind, because that's 17 races down the road way, and I tried to take it one at a time. Meaning, and so. That night I was strictly focused on that night, and the same with next weekend. We'll face that when it comes to it. I tried to take it one day at a time, even down to the practice days, you know. All right, let's put in good laps, down to my motos and everything. So I just tried to execute and do the best I could on all those areas, and each night was about, you know, that was the goal, was to win the race. Yeah. And if I didn't always win the race, but I always felt like I was present. I always felt like I was focused. And of course, you know, you start chipping away, you get halfway in, you start reevaluating, see where you're at, and, you know how to apply yourself on the track. And the one thing I always raced to win, even if I was in championships. Of course, like, you know, in your head, don't do nothing stupid here. You know where everybody's at statistically in the points. But I always raced, because and that was the advice I took from you, was also, if I try to play it even one bit remotely safe, you know, I always stayed within my means, but if I tried to start playing it safe, that's when something was almost when something always did kind of happen. You know, you'd run into a guy, your mind wasn't present. So, and even helping I always went the extra mile to sharing my goals with, of course, Eldon, you, my wife, people who could keep me accountable too, knowing, like, because if I got discouraged, or if I got off track, or if I got a little bit, because the season gets tough, it gets long, you need people to lean on a little bit. They could always keep me accountable and bring me back and keep me on the right track. No, remember why we're doing this. You know, remember why we're putting in this time. You know, if I started to complain or grumble, you know, it was nice to have those people. Hey, you know, like remember the goal here. Of course, the bigger picture, get to do what you do for a living, but remember what we're working towards here. And then that was also helpful to keep me on the right track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your goals now that you finished with your racing part of your career?
My goal now is to use all my experiences, everything that I've learned up until this point, and use it to benefit other people. I mean, that ultimately is my goal, and help them, and being able for the things that I went through, and try to help who, you know, there might be somebody who's going to go through what I went through, but knowing that I can share that experience and that knowledge that might help them get through that time, or if it's on the racetrack or if it's in life. And you know, ultimately doing work that is eternal, not so short-sighted, just the here and the now, doing work that's going to last forever. And that's, you know, helping these other guys, helping these other people, and kind of my way of serving, really. What's your take?
I still want to win some championships with the team, and you know, of course I'm getting pretty old, but as long as I can bring something valuable to the team, I still enjoy what I am doing, and um, you know, racing has been my life basically, you know, and I love what I do, and you know, I don't know why I'm not quite as a family man as you. I'm more focused on work, and I'm proud of our son and my two older sons, of what they have done. Although my second one is some serious issues that he's going through, but you know, he did fight in Iraq and all that, and you know, my older son is successful at what he does. He works for the State Department, and right now he's based in Sarajevo, in Europe, and works out of the U.S. Embassy there. And then our youngest son, Mika, he's studying to be a doctor, and you know, I admire what he does, and the dedication that he is putting in his studies, and he's a really cool guy and cool kid, and we are really fortunate to have him, and I try to do the right things, but I'm still focused on the racing part, and my wife, she's taking good care of the kids, and you know, that's how things are on my side.
That's good. You experienced it not racing, and that's a change, right? And if I can't race, then I too also want to help the team or kids or other people help them win championships, help them live lives, you know, like your son's living, they're super successful, like being able to share that experience and help people, help the team be successful, help people be successful, help them live out their dreams, you know. I think that's my goal, and because I got to do that, and it was pretty rewarding, you know.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from it too, of course.